शून्यवादी पश्चात्देशधारिणि वाञ्छिकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। जय रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्रीजीव गोपाल भट्टास रघुनाथ। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत श्री राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वृंदाय तुलसीदेव्याय प्रियाय केशवस्य च कृष्णभक्तिपददेवी सत्वते नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। First of all, I'd like to offer my hands of obeisances unto the lotus feet of my divine spiritual master, Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahansa Bhattacharya Stotara Shri Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Shranarayan Goswami Maharaj, and also saying words of obeisances unto the lotus feet of Nitya Vishnu Vishnupad Stotara Shri Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Swami Maharaj, and all the Rupanuga Gaudiya Guru Varga. And I pray to the lotus feet that whatever we discuss today, may it be in accordance with their Vani, with their bhavs, with their deep conclusions of Siddhanta, and may we understand and imbibe those within our heart and life. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. How are you all doing? Thank you so much for coming to our Saturday program. Some of you haven't seen in a while, so thank you very much. Happy New Year to those persons who haven't seen. I'm very happy that you all are here and taking the time out of your Saturday morning to come and learn something about today's Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. But before we do that, would anybody like to volunteer about summarizing what we discussed last week? All right, Sandra Didi, come, please speak something on suffering.
I think for last week's class, this was a question that was raised: is why do we suffer? And is suffering good or bad for us? And we concluded that suffering is good for us because for different reasons. One is where we have our karmas built, right? So we are suffering through, and this is the layman's thought process, that we are living through those karmas, right? So that is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is this is what comes to us from God. So whatever is God's plan, that's perfect for us. So that is one aspect of it, and we walked away saying that suffering is good for us.
Okay, that doesn't feel that. How come you don't feel that way when you suffer? How come we don't feel that way when we suffer? That it's good for us. Okay. Anything else you want to add? Okay. Dev Prabhu, please come and speak about suffering.
There's two types of suffering.
You don't speak to me.
Oh. Well, there's two types of suffering. One
Can
we
you put the mic
choose,
closer?
and one we get.
Two types of suffering. One we choose.
Yes, and then the one we get.
Okay.
So
Why would you choose suffering?
So for example, I love climbing mountains, and it hurts my feet so bad after that, like 2 weeks, and I choose that intentionally. But there is some suffering that we don't choose, but we still suffer, and that's maybe because of our karmas, based on what you explained.
else you understood?
We can reduce our suffering with bhakti. So the example you gave with those 3 containers at the very end.
Mm-hmm. You remember the 3 containers?
Not exactly, I have it in my notes.
But you don't have your notes, okay?
We can overcome our suffering with the power of bhakti.
Okay, so is that why we perform bhakti?
For multiple reasons, but this could be one for sure.
Okay. So when you perform your bhakti, you're hoping from Krishna that he will relieve you of your suffering?
Not necessarily suffering, but yes, that is one point, 1% of it, that if I'm going to suffer anything bad in life, I want him to relieve me.
Okay. All right. Anybody have any dispute against that? Come. Now your dispute is reply.
Dispute in a way is that we perform bhakti to attain love of Krishna, but your suffering is wiped out as a byproduct or result of doing the bhakti. Like our main reason. Well, a lot of people first come into bhakti thinking their suffering will be vanished, but once they start experiencing the love of Krishna, that's when their sufferings are kind of starting to wipe out. Because, you know, like even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said multiple times, like, that if you surrender yourself to me, I would end your suffering in a way. So
does he say that?
Well, he kind of like, I don't know if he explicitly says that, but he said that in one of the verses, like if you surrender to me, then I will take care of you. So a lot of people think of it as a way to end their suffering, and they first go into bhakti that way. But then once you experience the love, then your main focus in bhakti is to attain the love. No, suffering just sort of ends after that.
Suffering just sort of ends. What happens in the case of what if suffering doesn't end? Give me some examples of suffering not ending for those who love Krishna.
You still are stuck at the cycle of birth and death.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
Radha, what do you think about this? Can you dispute Namrata Didi's statement here?
So I think what has been emphasized in the previous classes is that suffering is just a state of mind. So like the waves of the ocean, suffering and happiness, one has start, one has beginning, but it's basically infinite. And it's only suffering if you believe it's suffering. Otherwise, Krishna doesn't eliminate your suffering. His main love towards those that he is impartial to is that he'll give you the tools.
Impartial or partial?
That he's partial to is that he will give you the tools and the association needed in order for you to rise above the fact that suffering is, in fact, something that will be detrimental towards your goal to bhakti.
Okay. Yeah. Ritu Didi, anything on this?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm currently not satisfied.
so basically we concluded that...
Not concluded. Walk me from the beginning. I feel that everyone is making an error.
Okay. So we were thinking about whether suffering is good for us or not, whether it stings or not. So yes, suffering stings. But then we started with the example with Krishna, that regarding that phone example.
Krishna meaning Krishna Mulani,
yeah, Krishna
not
Mulani.
that Krishna.
Krishna Mulani, not so not Bhagavan. So we started with that example that in morning very first action of his, and most of us, like, we raised our hands. I watched the recording. Most of us are getting up and we just pick up our phone. This is a habit which is created like maybe from the teenager, and it became so strong and strong that at one point of time it becomes very difficult for us to not to do that action. So from that we
What is that called? Habit, okay. Anybody know the Sanskrit word for habit from previous actions? Sanskars.
Yeah.
So we develop sanskars from our activities,
Our activities.
of our own choice.
Yes.
And those sanskars then give us habits. Then those habits are very difficult for us to
Yes.
overcome.
Yes.
But they were actually created by who?
By us only.
By us only.
By us.
Alright.
So there we understood that our sanskar or whatever we are suffering or doing, it is due to our own karmas, the
Okay.
previous karmas. Okay, in this life we can see that we are on our phone, but we do have many lives, previous life, where we don't remember what we have done, what are our karmas, and maybe there are many other sanskars which we have right now. We don't understand why do we have, for that we blame others sometimes. But we do have those sanskars because of our own karmas from the time immemorial, from the past lives. So this is one thing we concluded throughout the session, that we are suffering due to our own karma. So we are not supposed to blame God or any third person that, okay, because of you I'm suffering or God is giving me suffering. And secondly, we also concluded that due to suffering, we become mature. The maturity comes. We learn through our experience, and when we suffer and suffer and suffer, and in the end, we become mature that, okay, this is because of me, because of myself only. When we suffer, sometimes people, when they go and approach the Lord, and when they study, and through the knowledge and the gyan, slowly they realize that, okay, this was due to my own karmas. So this is how we become mature, and we take the responsibility and the accountability of our suffering on ourselves. So in a way, suffering is good because it makes us mature. And also it brings us very, very close to the Lord. This is what.
Anything else?
I don't remember, maybe you can give me hints.
Narendra Prabhu? What else did we learn about suffering? So far, Didi, you weren't here last week. Did you understand anything so far? Yeah? Okay. I didn't understand. No one has walked me through very simply how to understand suffering. Can you do that, Prabhu?
I can repeat what others have said, but I think Prabhuji what he explained was suffering is not a bad thing. When suffering comes, many people blame God. They lose their faith in God. But suffering is a positive thing, like others said. It helps you wash your previous karma. It's coming from, there was a beautiful story I read is when Dhritarashtra, when the whole Mahabharata finished, he went and asked Vedyas that, I can see my last three births. He had some powers, but I didn't do anything to deserve this. I didn't do anything to deserve this suffering, to see all my kids brutally murdered, like literally brutally murdered, right? And he said, what was this? So he explained him that 100 births back, you were a hunter and you killed a bird's nest with 100 eggs. You were in a human form, so you had to come back and you had to see this. He's like, hundreds births back, and now I had to see this. He said, you were in a human form, so we can't send you back in an animal, in an animal life. So you have to collect a lot of positive karmas to become a king. Get 100 kids, and this is what happened to you. So my understanding was, if you try to understand your previous karma and sanskara, and you try to understand this, it's very complicated. I think what happens, suffering happens to you, but when you surrender, when you go, he's going to be partial towards taking that suffering away from you, and your mindset will change. Again, maybe sharing another story which we discussed last time, and it's probably a folk tale. It's not in Valmiki Ramayana, but when Hanuman was taking the Sanjeevani booty for Lakshman. Everyone knows the story. Bharat gave an arrow, he fell in Ayodhya, and the news reached to Urmila. And Urmila was suffering a lot. Her sacrifices, everyone knows, right, what she did. But
But at that time she was not at all worried. And everyone said, your husband is about to die. If he does not reach there in the morning, he will die. And she said, he's just acting. And they're like, what do you mean? And they said, he's 14 years he's served his brother. Now he's just sitting in his lap and relaxing. Till Lord Ram is there, he will not let the sun come out. He's like, that much trust I have in him. So, when you have the trust in the Lord, your suffering, he's partial towards you and you will not even feel that suffering. So, I don't know if I explained it right, but that's what I captured.
Okay, wonderful. Anyone else? Kritika, would you like to speak something on suffering?
Can try.
All right. Can you add any point?
I think one point we forgot to touch upon was free will.
Was what?
Free will.
Free will.
Yeah, that despite all the past karmas we have, we still have the power to make a difference and choose to do good in the current situation that we have. I think that.
Okay.
I think then we added to it to say then God also has free will, and so He is.
Yeah, and one objection we made was that a lot of time we expect Shri Krishna to be fair to everyone because people think the fact that we have different privileges in life is unfair and we should actually all be at the same level, but that's untrue because karma is the reason everything is actually fair, and just like we have the free will, even Shri Krishna has the free will, and he tries to do justice by all of us.
Okay. Hema Didi, anything else on suffering?
I'm sorry.
You're an expert. Come. Everybody came, now you are giving me a lick. Come. Jaldi aao. Jaldi aao. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, everyone. What do you want to talk about?
Whatever you remember from last week's class.
Everybody almost spoke everything.
Everything.
Almost everything.
Well, what did they not speak?
I was out for a while.
No? Okay.
Mama was talking about Kunti Devi when she was here, so you can talk about Kunti Devi.
All right.
But we
Then
didn't talk
saved
about
by your
Kunti Devi
daughter.
last week.
We did not talk about Kunti Devi.
Yeah.
In
So-
fact, that would have been something we talked about today. But go ahead. Tell me about Kunti Devi now that you know this.
Okay, so Kunti Devi was always asking for suffering because
Always?
always.
No.
She knew that whenever suffering comes, suffering doesn't come alone. It comes with Shri Krishna. Sufferings don't come alone. God comes along with.
So does she always want suffering? Or after she experienced a lot of suffering, then she came to Shri Krishna and said, please give me
Suffering
suffering.
after she experienced.
And why?
Because whenever there were sufferings, Shri Krishna was always alongside. Shri Krishna was always with all the Pandavas to help every way possible.
So then ultimately, what is the devotee okay with?
Sufferings.
Suffering.
Because
Because what?
sufferings are not even sufferings. Like most of you said that suffering is a state of mind. It's not even a suffering. It's an experience that you get. And in devotion, in devotional life, we don't ask for nothing. Whatever comes is our karmas that come along with. It's not even a suffering.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, Haripriya,
No, I don't know what she spoke last week, so I don't know if this
you
is
can
out of
speak
syllabus.
something about suffering.
No, I'll just kind of speak from here. I just want to say that devotees, the way they view happiness and distress is they're just two sides of the same coin. Because when happiness goes, then distress comes. And when distress goes, then happiness comes. So they don't differentiate so much. They kind of, this is the view of the bhakta. And in fact, so they're like the same thing. But the benefit of the distress or the suffering is that it gives a level of maturity, teaches you something, which happiness actually doesn't teach you that. So over time, like Kunti Devi, she went through so much suffering. What did she learn? Some maturity. And that maturity made her ask that in the Queen Kunti's prayers, which are like the most glorious prayers in the Bhagavatam, she's asking that please constantly give me suffering, because when we are suffering, then we are always thinking about you. So this is the maturity that came with the suffering. Whereas if someone goes through only happiness and only good times, you don't learn anything from that. So this is the vision of the devotee. And then secondly, the devotees don't think, oh, one day my suffering will go away and I will be happily ever after or blissfully ever after. Because in the spiritual world, there's so much suffering, and that's, you can see the greatest devotees are the gopis. And are they suffering? Yeah, because they are also experiencing deep separation and also meeting and separation. And in separation, they're feeling like even one, their suffering is that even one, they're cursing their own eyelids. When they're with Krishna, they're cursing their own eyelids. That one, why are these eyelids even existing? Because one blink feels like millions of years for them. This is their level of love for Krishna. So they find that level of suffering. So that's it. That's all I wanted to just add. I'm not sure what you all spoke about last week. But
Equanimity. That's what she's saying. Suffering means.
So that greatest suffering is also part of bhakti, and it is also greatest happiness is there in that suffering. So it's like not just the Vaishnavas or the devotees. They have such a higher vision on the simple day-to-day things that we may think is the be-all and end-all. I don't know. That's all, I guess.
Okay, anyone else?
I have a question, but with happiness also you become mature, right? If you had some good experiences also.
Do you become mature when you're happy?
At times, if I'm doing some performing good at my work, and then it makes me happy, and then I learn from it. Okay, this made me happy, so I should keep this track. So even happiness makes you mature, no? That's, I think.
But does happiness leave the level of maturity you get? For example, let us take a very simple example. There's one very rich kid who grows up with all the amenities of life. And then there's one kid who has struggled from day one. By the time they grow up, who ends up being more mature?
Of course, the one who's suffering. Because
so even in your example, you're performing work and then you get some promotion, you become happy. But when you're performing that work, are you happy? It's because you slogged through, you went through some suffering, and then you got something out of it. Then you say, oh, slogging through my job is actually a good thing. Yes?
Yeah.
It's not like you were clapping your hands while you were slogging through at midnight trying to please your boss. See? So the actual maturity came from the suffering. So from happiness, we don't get that gift of maturity. We only get the gift of maturity through some suffering. Yes?
Prabhuji, I agree, but maybe just to, a mature soul, a very mature soul, not like me, but a very mature soul, probably looks at everything not in those waves. So maybe the point he's trying to make is, in a very mature soul, keeps him close to Krishna in the same way. But that's not for all of us. That's not for me, I'm sorry.
That's what she made the point. And that's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Matra sparshasthu kaunteya shitoshna sukha aur dukha. Koi fark nahi padta. Right?
Maybe Prabhuji's level is like, everything.
He's elevated, so the rest of us need to figure out suffering also. Because mostly we don't understand the suffering aspect. Right? All of us are very happy to be in a happy state of mind. But most of us will fight tooth and nail in order to get rid of our suffering. But many points were missed by all of you, and I'm frankly a little bit disappointed in this, because the essence is really lost here. We all have taken some statements, and then we applied some previous knowledge, and that's what we all have done. I've noticed it on everybody's statement. We have taken what we knew from what we think we know, then we took one or two statements from the class, and then we mixed them together, and that's how we came up with the conclusions. But that's not what our acharyas do. When our acharyas discuss any topic, you have to really focus on what they are saying. And we cannot, just like there was that story I told you all before. There was a teacher, a guru, who was approached by a very smart kid from a rich family, and then a poor kid from a dumb kid from a very poor family. But he said to the rich kid, I will charge you 100 rupees in order to educate you. And to the poor kid, he said, I will charge you 10 rupees. The rich kid became upset. He said, why are you charging me more? He said, because I have to undo all of those things that you learned that you think you know due to your status. But this one is approaching me very humbly, therefore it will be very easy to teach him. Similarly, when we are studying any topic, it's very important to try to release from our mindset what we know previously. Because what we know previously is often a concoction of our mind. It has no basis in Shastra. When we are studying Shastra, we should understand Shastra according to what Shastra says, not trying to say, oh, well that makes sense according to my vision. Remember, last week we spoke about putting God in a box. Because we think God should behave in a certain way, so when he behaves in that way, all is good. And when he doesn't behave in that way, something is wrong. But when anybody puts us in a box, we are very quick to say, I don't fit in a box. So why do we expect Bhagavan to fit in a box? Especially one of our mundane vision. So many points were missed. I will repeat them and try to remember. So, with suffering comes maturity, the gift of maturity that has been mentioned a few times. But what has been ignored or avoided here is that this maturity often leads one to come to the path of bhakti. As we see, I can speak for one personal example. One time, my chachi, my aunt, her son, very young boy, maybe 20, he's my cousin, 20 or 21, he got cancer. Okay? He got cancer, lymphoma, I guess it was something like John Hopkins, something like this. Huh? So he got cancer. Now when she heard about this, of course she's very distressed. When she's very distressed about her son, what is the first thing she does? She comes to the temple. She comes to the temple. She never came to the temple in her life, but she comes to the temple. She comes to the temple for 8 to 10 weeks, 8 to 10 times. Now, her son was a very critical situation. They don't know when anybody hears cancer for a 21-year-old, they become extremely worried. So she comes here, she's depressed, she's expressing to my mom, etc. Now, after some time, 8 to 10 weeks, the doctor says he'll be fine. The cancer will go away, we'll get through this. And then what happens to her, Didi? She stopped coming. And why? She thinks Bhagavan has blessed her because she came to the temple. She goes with that mood. I went to the temple, Bhagavan blessed my son and me, and we are good. I got what I needed. So, when someone suffers, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 4 prakar ke log aate hain mere paas. Actually 5, but 4 ka naam de rakha hai. 4 types of people come to me. That is 1, you know this, Ajay? Chatur Vida Bhajante Mam. The one who seeks wealth, the one who is distressed, the one who is inquisitive, and the one who wants to understand knowledge. Gyani. Yeah? Of these four, the most popular one is the distressed. That is the most common person who comes, who turns their face to Bhagavan because they want some relief from their suffering. So, because bhakti is very trendy. You go on YouTube and Instagram and all this, they all talk about bhakti. So it's trendy, so what happens? They come to bhakti, they go to a temple. Now, there's two things that can happen. One is you get blessed, your suffering goes away. The other is your suffering doesn't go away. When your suffering goes away, most of the time, they're gone. When your suffering continues, then what two things could happen to you? Let's say you're suffering, you came to the temple, you prayed to the Lord to relieve you of your suffering, but He didn't give you relief of your suffering. What then might happen? Two things could happen. What two things do you think would happen?
So either it will strengthen the belief that if I should keep going, or it would break the cycle of the belief and say, okay, this doesn't work.
This doesn't work, let me try something else. Let me try somatic therapy. That's my cousin says. Anyhow. Alright, so this is what happens, correct? Now, out of all the choices, how rare is it that someone keeps going? Amongst all those people that enter for that reason, how often do you think that happens?
It's lesser.
Much lesser. Because, why? Because it's very difficult for someone to have that mature vision where they understand the suffering is coming because of me, not because of him. So the example we used for sanskars, why did we use that example? Because we are doing the activities, we are creating the tendencies. We know those tendencies cause us suffering. For example, the mind becomes disturbed upon waking up and seeing the phone right away. But I asked him the next day, what are you going to do? Wake up and see the phone. So, Bhagavan is not causing the tendency. This is very important. It's our own actions that cause the tendencies that create our own suffering. Now, when Bhagavan, there was one big point that we didn't address, is Bhagavan is also looking at the soul, at the living entity. There's two parties here. It's not just one. He's not just a statue sitting there. He's also looking. And what is he going to think? Have we thought about this? What does he think when he sees Shivani Didi suffering, Hema Didi suffering? Now, Didi, you are a mature parent, and you have seen your kids complain to you about their sufferings, or no? Now, what do you say as a mature parent when your daughter comes to you and says, Mom, tests, too many tests, too much homework, it's very hard school. What do you say?
Wake up at 3 a.m.
Wake up at 3 a.m., buddy, instead of 4 a.m. That means suffer more. So, Bhagavan is there, and he will say, the parent is there, and she says, wake up earlier and work harder. So how can we expect Bhagavan to not want that? Because ultimately, when you suffer more, what happened as a result of suffering? You came to the temple. Which ultimately results in whose benefit?
My own.
Your own benefit. You wake up at 3, you study a little more, you get a better grade. Ultimately, Prabhu, you said, you slog it out and then you get benefit, and then you do it again. So, when one approaches Bhagavan for relief of suffering, whose benefit is that? Neither yours, neither his. Right? If, for example, everybody's a mature parent here, whoever's a parent, if Didi said, Beta chod, don't worry about it. Hey, just relax. Take it easy, go to sleep, wake up at 8, whatever grade you get is fine. Would anybody agree with this? Why do we expect Bhagavan to do the same? You understand? So Bhagavan's giving. Therefore, one level of devotee understands this is coming to my own previous karma. This is, everybody now has understood this from Bhagavad Gita. The other level of devotee has an even higher understanding. Because he has followed the process of bhakti. What did you say after, who said this? I think you said this, Namrata.
Yeah.
When you do bhakti, then your suffering goes away eventually. Yes, you said this? Somebody said this.
Yeah.
You said this. Sorry, bro. You said this. But we see over and over and over again, devotees are still suffering. So that doesn't make sense either. So if bhakti destroys the suffering, then why are they still suffering? Because that suffering is given by who? By Bhagavan. And what is that suffering? Is it a result of your previous karma? No. The Pandavas didn't have any bad karma. Right? The pure devotees don't have bad karma to deal with.
What about previous lives?
Prabhu, this is a leela. Yes.
So, we talked about when God wants to bring you in His own
Family.
That's when there's more, He gives that suffering to make you His own.
Yes. So, okay. Let's. This is not the topic for today, but let's understand this. We have karma. We all understand karma. There are two types of karma. I'm just going to categorize them in very simple ways. What we think is bad or good. Narendra Prabhu, when you do a bad karma, what happens?
Bad
Bad things. And when you do a good karma,
things.
good things happen to you. Everybody, easy? Okay. We have said over and over and over, when one comes to the path of bhakti, then what happens to your previous karma? Washed away. Therefore, you don't have this anymore. So how can the suffering come from bad karma? Do you understand what I'm saying? If someone is completely devoted on the path of bhakti 100%, they don't have to deal with this. That's the promise Krishna makes. But yet somehow they're still suffering. Right? The Pandavas still suffer? Kunti Devi still suffers? Yes? Then, how do we solve for this? How do we answer this? Amadili? You have been practicing bhakti for decades, yeah?
Not yet.
Attempting, don't be trying. Something is there. So even attempts should be able to wash away. This is such a small thing in front of bhakti. Bhakti is so transcendental that karma is like an ant in front of an elephant. Yeah? So washing away karma is like, yeah, shuru se hi hota hai. You understand what I'm saying? It's not even considered. So then in that case, you're practicing bhakti, but still, are you suffering?
Of course.
So then, how do we answer this?
If you consider that suffering is not even a suffering, is an equal.
Okay, that's one thing, but you still suffer, and you're feeling it. Even Kunti Devi felt it, right? That's why she's saying, give me. It's not like she was like stoic and just bad things happening. Acha, okay. No, she was crying also. Then?
But she was relishing more.
No. She wasn't relishing. Nobody relishes the suffering.
I think Krishna was with them, that's why she was like, rather suffering comes
Is it
then.
the suffering in the mind, not things happening according to expectation?
No.
Suffering
So if I beat you with a bat, will you just say it's okay? Not possible.
When you suffer, you pray more, your ego reduces more.
Wonderful. Wonderful, but that doesn't make it feel better, does it? Ajay? When you're suffering, you're a devotee. You have been promised from Krishna in Bhagavad Gita that when you become a devotee, you won't deal with suffering. But you're still suffering. How do we explain that?
Sanchit karma is what's destroyed.
Okay. then your prarabdha, no, then your kriyaman gets better, meaning your current activities get better, and then your prarabdha. Okay, fine. Let's say all of it's washed, it's done. Then you still suffer. You just told me the gopis suffer. Do they have any previous karmas they need to deal with? Why?
Sometimes Krishna chooses those devotees.
Yeah.
Sometimes Krishna chooses those devotees. Like Draupadi didn't have any previous karmas, but Krishna chose her.
And?
As a medium, as an example to set for humanity.
So then the suffering came from who?
Krishna.
From Bhagavan himself. As what? As a punishment or as a blessing?
Like Haridas Thakur.
So that's why this verse, Tatte, have you heard this verse? Tatte anukampam su samikshamanu bunjana evatma kritam vipakam hedvad vapurvir vidadan namaste jivet yomukti pade sadhayava. That is, the devotee does not see suffering as a result of his previous karma. He sees it as a result of Bhagavan's daya, Bhagavan's mercy. That Bhagavan, wow, he chose me to do this suffering. And because of this suffering, look at what I'm getting. You understand? One is to understand it on the mathematical platform. I did bad, so now, yeah, I'm getting bad. That must have happened like 1,000 lifetimes ago. Does that make you feel better? Does Dhritarashtra feel better that, oh, now he's explained 100 lifetimes ago he made a mistake and now he's paying the price? No. Instead, the more mature devotee says, no, this is my great opportunity. We ended with this, right? Prabhu, I asked you, do you want to become a sadhu one time? I asked you, yes? Because a sadhu will say, oh, what a great fortune I have that this suffering is coming my way. Because this suffering, I don't accept this as my, previous karma. Yes, it must be there. But now I'm so dedicated to Bhagavan that it cannot be my previous karma. It must be Bhagavan himself desiring this. And if he desires it, then I'm totally fine with it. Do we understand now? Suffering is very, very, the vision of suffering has to evolve with maturity. So karma is like the level 1. Now level 2 is, okay, it's going to make me more mature. But level 3 is saying, this is Bhagavan's desire. I'm very happy with whatever he wants to do with me. Okay? So that's how we should understand suffering. Okay, Devi, anything else you want to address?
No, I just wanted to ask, when you said that devotees, why devotees are still suffering? So when a pure devotee is there, is it possible for him to suffer or feel pain when he sees this other people who are stuck here, and so does that create pain in his heart that they should also be delivered?
Yes.
So that is also, can we consider that is also suffering for that pure devotees, and
that is not known as dukh, that is known as daya. He gets an overwhelming feeling of daya, not an overwhelming feeling of dukh. The example here is Prahlad Maharaj. When Prahlad met the Lord, Narasimhadev appeared in front of him. Narasimhadev asked him, take any boon. Then he said, may the suffering of the world come to me, and may everyone else be happy. He wasn't minding the suffering at all. He didn't mind that the whole world's suffering would come on him only. He still didn't mind it. He said, may I simply remember you, Lord? Everything else I'm fine with. So he has an overwhelming feeling of daya, mercy. That is what our Guru Varga and Acharyas are. Okay? They don't experience that dukh. And we ended with a bhajan by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Does anybody remember that bhajan? Okay. Okay, what was the gist of it?
It's where Lord Krishna says that if the bhakta is asked, if this morak, this person is asking for wealth.
No, wo alag tha. But yes, go ahead, you can say that. Vishay Bulaiva. What is this? Go ahead, you can say.
Yeah, so he's asking for wealth or for relief from suffering,
Or
but that is
happiness.
that is not going to bring him closer to me. So although he is foolish, I'm the intelligent one. So why do I give him this instead of that? Let me give him suffering that it will bring him closer to me.
Okay, suffering is not mentioned there. He says, let me give him the taste of my lotus feet. Let me give him the nectar of my lotus feet. By that he will forget this. He will not desire it anymore. So just like Didi will tell her daughter, wake up at 3 a.m., because eventually when she gets in the habit, then what happens? She'll automatically be a better student. Similarly, the Lord, he will say, wait, why should I be foolish like him? He may think material benefits are good for him, but I know better than that. So why would I do that? Yes, bro, anything you want to say? The end of bhajan is, I want to just finish this point.
It was a wave one, right?
Sorry, every wave is favorable, but there was a bhajan where Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, whatever seva I perform for you, O Lord, whatever seva I perform for you, whether happiness or suffering comes as a result of it, that is my greatest happiness. So oftentimes in devotional societies, we may experience some inconveniences, let's put it that way. Somebody says something not so nice to us, or we hurt our back washing the dishes, or etc. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Tamada. In all of your seva, whatever happiness or distress that may come as a result of it is actually my most happiness, like the best happiness I can feel. Yes, Narendra Prabhu, last thing, and then we'll continue with today's class.
So, but Prabhuji, like if I take an example of Shabri Mata, she was asked to collect, for Lord Ram and Lord Lakshman, and for many, many years, 8-9 years, she was doing that. I look at it as suffering. If I was asked to do that, I would be very upset. But she did not look at that as suffering. She was enjoying that act. So, like Prabhuji said at the beginning, right? Maybe when your maturity gets in, when all your karmas get washed and you get to that level of maturity, this suffering is not suffering.
Because
for me it's suffering, but maybe for the person, for the bhakta, it's a form of enjoyment only, or it's a form of it's very differently viewed. That's what I'm trying to get at.
that's right. So this is not even called suffering. And therefore, the pure devotees don't suffer. Understand? Alright. Even the gopis in the islands, are they suffering? That's their greatest happiness. Even the separation mood of the devotee, Sita Devi being separated from Lord Ram, though she aspires, of course, to meet with him, still, she's always crying for Lord Ram while being separated physically. Alright, can we move forward? Yes? Okay. So, enough discussion of suffering. We will close that topic, and we will go back to our original series, which is starting of 10th Canto. Alright, so 10th Canto, as we said, somebody's stomach growl? Alright, so starting of 10th Canto, we were discussing the appearance or the advent of Sri Krishna.
Something went wrong. Please try again.
Alright, something definitely went wrong. Alright, so we were discussing the appearance of Sri Krishna. And the chapter is very appropriately titled. We mentioned that it's titled as the appearance of Sri Krishna, not the birth of Sri Krishna. So we've already discussed the topic of Devakī and Vasudeva getting married, Kans taking away, Kans hearing the aerial voice, becoming very upset, ready to kill Devakī. Then Vasudeva approaches Kans and says, essentially, please don't kill my wife, she's your sister, you will become ruined, reputation, your everything will go away. Instead, I will hand you over each child one by one. And you can do whatever you want to them. Alright, so that's where we ended last time. Now we will discuss the end of this chapter, which is chapter 1, and starting also chapter 2. And we should hopefully finish chapter 2 also. I don't know, based on how much we discussed suffering. In any case, let's speed up a little bit. I wish Krishna Milani was here to recite the verses, but we'll go quickly. Devarshi Narad. Okay, all of you know who Narad Muni is now? Narad Muni then approaches Kans. So, Vasudeva and Devaki, he lets them go. After he says that, after Vasudeva offers him that I will bring you each of my children and you can do whatever you want, then Kans lets them go. And so Vasudeva and Devaki are residing in their palace and Kans is residing in his. Now, in the meanwhile, Devarshi Narad, that is Narad Muni, comes and pays a visit to Kans. Now, he pays a visit to Kans and he then begins telling Kans two things. One, he begins telling him about his previous lifetimes. He says, Kans, prior to this, you were known as Kalanemi. You were a demon, Kalanemi. We'll talk about that for a second in a little bit. And Vishnu was your enemy. And in that lifetime, Vishnu killed you. So what is Narad Muni doing? When somebody tells you, hey Prabhu, actually, Ajay, he was your great enemy. He killed you. What will immediately happen to you if you hear that?
Provoke me.
Huh?
It will provoke me.
Provoke you. So Narad Muni comes to provoke Kans. And what would you want to do? You would want to?
Kill that person.
Kill that person. So he's provoking Kans, encouraging him to become more demoniac. Narad Muni. He's a sage, Why would he want to do that? Why would he want to provoke a demon to become more of a demon? Shouldn't a sage turn a demon into a sadhu?
To eliminate his karma.
To eliminate his karma, okay. Anybody?
To speed up.
Yes, to speed up. So, when an angry person becomes even more angry, angry person becomes uncontrolled. So, as when Vasudeva told Kans that I will give you my children, then Kans becomes very happy, and then he begins to think, why do I need to kill the first few kids? I'm worried about the 8th kid. I don't need to worry about anything else. So then Kans says, oh, this Vishnu is a tricky person. Then Narad Muni tells him that, oh, don't you know, whenever Vishnu appears, all the devtas also appear. And these devtas, they have come across this entire kingdom. You have no idea. You're completely surrounded by your enemies. And who knows, every single one of the children of Vasudeva could be a killer of you. And then he becomes very, and then he plays with the lotus flower. We won't go into all that. But in any case, Kans becomes extremely provoked. And he becomes very upset. And he begins thinking that everyone is his enemy. Now, when someone who is desirous of more and more power and becomes more and more provoked, then what happens? They lash out and they start attacking everyone. So Kans, along with his henchmen, it's described, along with the other demons like Putana, Agasur, and all them, they began causing so much ruckus in Mathura. And then he asks for the children of Vasudeva and Devaki, and one by one, he kills them. So when he kills each of the children of Devaki, he kills the first 6 children. It's described in the Bhagavatam. The first child, his name is Kirtiman. And in this 6 children, as they are being killed by Kans, many devotees begin to wonder when this happens, that, hey, how is this fair? After all, Vasudeva and Devaki, Prabhu, are they not pure devotees? They're the mother and father of the Supreme Lord. Why would the Supreme Lord want his mother to experience suffering for 6 of her children to be killed? So in this case, there is a previous story. So the 6 children of Devaki, does anybody know? Who were they?
Sons.
They were sons, yes. The 6 sons of, Ajay, do you know? 6 sons of Marichi. Marichi, okay? So there was one sage, he's known as Prajapati. Prajapati means he was one of the first human beings, and then he created progeny. Praja, he created Praja. Prajapati. He was the creator of the Praja, meaning he created progeny, and that's how the world became populated. So his name was Marichi. Marichi had come from the mind of Brahma. Okay? So Marichi was the son of Brahma. One day Brahma, without getting into too much detail, commits a very questionable act. And this questionable act is then commented by Marichi, his son, and he says, "My dear father, Brahma, you're so learned. Why did you do such a thing? It doesn't suit your personality." So when Brahmaji hears this from Marichi, then he immediately stops that act and he says, "Yes, you are right." But Marichi also had 6 sons. And Marichi's 6 sons were like the grandsons of Brahma. So instead of being respectful to their grandfather, they started laughing at him. And because they laughed at him and criticized him, then Brahma cursed them so that they are killed immediately from the womb. So let's read the purport here by Srila Prabhupada. Ajay Prabhu, can you read what's on the slide?
The six dead sons of Devakī were personifications of Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. They were killed by Kamsa. This symbolizes the need to be rid of these 6 bad qualities before Krishna can enter the heart. Symbolically, Mother Devaki's constant fear of Kamsa was purifying her. A pure devotee should always fear material association, and in this way all the asuras of material association will be killed, as the Shatgarbha asuras were killed by Kamsa. It is said that from the mind, Marichi appears. In other words, Marichi is an incarnation of the mind. Marichi has 6 sons, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moha, Mada, and Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, illusion, madness, and envy.
So, our acharyas describe that these 6 sons of Marichi means one who has come from the mind of Brahma, and similarly, in our mind, there are 6 things that enter our mind. That is, Kam, Krodh, Mad, Moh, Lobh, and Matsarya. Lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, envy, pride, and madness, illusion. These are 6 hindrances to devotional service. So Marichi's 6 sons were cursed by Brahma to become killed as soon as they were born. So these 6 sons took birth as the 6 first sons of Devakī. So they were predestined already due to the curse of Brahma. And Bhagavan found it an opportune time for these 6 sons of Marichi to be killed in this way so that they can fulfill their curse. Now our acharyas here have given the comparison that these 6 sons are like the 6 hindering characteristics of devotional service. Prabhu, can you read the next slide also?
The conjunction of material and spiritual in Krishna's pastimes is there to illustrate the methodical nature of bhakti. While devotees perform sadhana bhakti in the form of hearing and chanting about Krishna, they also enjoy the 6 material sense objects, which is a secondary effect of bhakti. At that time, the devotee cries out pitifully, "O Krishna, because of this enjoyment, I will fall into the dark well of material existence."
Okay, so Ajay Prabhu, do you perform sadhana bhakti?
Try to.
You try to. What does that mean? You're doing some practice, right? In the form of hearing and chanting, is that what you do? They also enjoy the 6 material sense objects. What are those?
The ones we just covered.
The ones you just mentioned. Can you name them?
Kam, Krodh, Lobh.
In English, maybe?
Lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion, and madness.
Greed, envy. Missed one. Pride.
Pride, yeah.
And illusion or madness.
Yeah.
These 6 things come. It says, while devotees perform bhakti, they also enjoy these 6 things. Do you enjoy these 6 things when you perform bhakti?
Not simultaneously, maybe.
But it just said it's a secondary effect of bhakti. Why is that?
So instead of being bad, these become beneficial or useful.
Okay, that's one aspect. Otherwise, when we are performing your chanting, do you experience any of these things?
Greed, I think we get more greedy for doing more.
Okay, that is this aspect. They become beneficial to you, but also
Sometimes pride.
pride comes. Are these things that we all fight every day, even though we are practicing bhakti? Yes, lust, anger. Are we overcome? I have not overcome these. Yes.
Yes.
So they come as secondary effects. They come as secondary effects because whenever someone is trying to do something good, we have mentioned this, there's always 1,000 obstacles that stop you from doing it. So these obstacles come in the way also. So now our acharyas are saying these 6 sons, which are coming from these 6 objects from our mind, they are coming. And they're always attacking us even when we are performing our bhakti. When someone is performing bhakti and they recognize that these 6 objects are coming into the mind, then they say, "Oh Krishna,
Because of this enjoyment, I will fall into the dark well of material existence."
okay." And then, so what our acharyas are doing is they're making the comparison of this process. If we go back to the first slide, the conjunction of material and spiritual in Krishna's pastimes is there to illustrate the methodical nature of bhakti. That is, everything that Krishna does and everything in the way he does it means something. It doesn't just happen randomly. So what our acharyas are describing, that some people will say, well, this doesn't make sense. Your 6 sons get killed. That's so atrocious. Then, then they get stuck in the jail. They're stuck in the jail, how much suffering they're going through. And then they have to wait till Krishna grows up and kills Kans, etc. So we should understand that is representing the methodical nature of bhakti. Everything that he does is explaining something. So what are they explaining? Let's go into that understanding. So Devakī Mata, that is Mother Devakī, is the personification of bhakti. Devaprabhu, you told me she's a pure devotee because she's the mother of the Lord. So she's completely dedicated to the Lord, and that's why the Lord would appear as her son. So Devakī is the complete personification of bhakti, and Kans is the complete opposite of that. Right? Kans is a terrible person. He creates fear in everyone. Now Devakī is completely fearful of Kans. Is that right? Is that right? She's very fearful of Kans. So Devakī is fearful of Kans. Now, it is said when someone is performing bhakti, then Ajay Prabhu just told me, lust, anger, greed, envy, pride, and illusion all come from the mind of someone who is trying to perform bhakti. Make sense so far? When the mind is fearful of someone like Kans, or fearful of bad material association, then what did Kans do to these 6 sons? He killed them. So due to Devakī's fear of Kans, then all of these things become eliminated for the bhakta. So the symbolism here is Devakī represents that person who is aspiring for bhakti. But sometimes they're plagued with things when they're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Man, that person said this about me. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Man, can I get my promotion today? Or what? Like this, like that. All these things come in the mind. How do we conquer these things? That is by having fear of bad material association. Don't have material association. When we stop having material association, that automatically cleanses the mind, kills these 6 things. Essentially, like Kans kills the first 6 sons. Now, Ritu Didi, after Kans kills the first 6 sons, who comes next? Do you know? Huh? Balaram. The 7th son, the 7th child is Balaram. Do you remember who Balaram represents? Okay, the first incarnation of Krishna, or the first expansion of Krishna, and he represents someone in particular. Sankarshan, that's another name for Balaram, okay? But he represents?
Supreme personality of servitude.
Okay, he's the supreme, because he's the expansion of the Lord, he's non-different from the Lord, but he comes as a servant. Good. And who's the best servant of God in this world? The Guru. Okay? The Guru. So, when the first 6 sons of Devakī are killed by Kans, that is when one devotee cleanses the mind of these things, then the 7th child appears. And who is the 7th child? That is Guru. Understand? So when Guru appears in one's life, that is because the sadhaka, when a bona fide Guru appears in one's life, who is like Balaram, who is very strong, who is very powerful, who very cleanses the heart, who purifies the heart, purifies the place, then that person appears. So in this symbolism, Devakī becoming fearful of Kans killing the enemies of the mind of the devotee. Once the devotee is clear of that, then Guru appears in one's heart. So when that happens, when Guru appears in one's heart, then the following happens. Prabhu, can you read the second prayer?
The second one.
We read the first one.
When a devotee shows fear of material enjoyment, gradually the tendency to enjoy matter subsides. Then bhakti in the form of hearing and chanting Krishna's names, glorifying his transcendental forms, qualities and pastimes, and serving the Lord in various ways becomes prominent. Finally, Krishna himself, the ocean of all wonderful forms and qualities, appears within the devotee.
Alright, so first Guru appears. When Guru appears, then automatically, who is the 8th child? Krishna himself appears. And so then?
Krishna Prem, which is characterized by intense service to the Lord, necessarily appears in the womb of bhakti after the desire for sense objects is extinguished.
Make sense? So he appears in the womb of bhakti. Why is it described as a womb? What's a womb?
Like a place where you nurture something.
A place where you nurture something?
Before it comes out.
Before it comes out. Like a child comes out of a womb. And when does it come out? Does the mother control when the child comes out? The child comes out
when it's ready.
When he's ready. Alright, similarly, bhakti. As we nourish our bhakti by what? 2 ways. What it was written on the previous? Don't give him hints. How do we perform our sadhana?
Chanting and
hearing and chanting. So we're doing 2 things to nourish our womb of bhakti. When that child is ready to come out, that child comes out in the form of Krishna. Alright, let's read the next one.
Similarly, Ananta, the personified form of service to the Lord, appeared as the 7th child of Devakī. As Sri Krishna himself appears after Prema Bhakti appears, so Bhagavan himself appeared as the 8th child of Devakī after Shesha appeared.
Alright, so, Nidhi, at one point you were pregnant? Yes? When you were pregnant, did you have a doctor? When you went to that doctor, then they told you about, you need to do like this, you need to do like that, so the baby's healthy, everything is good. What does a guru do? Guide. Same thing, he tells you, you made a mistake, you shouldn't have eaten spicy food that makes the child feel spicy. Whatever, right? He gives so many instructions. Similarly, the guru is always watching you as you nurture your own bhakti. But ultimately, is it the doctor that does the work, or is it the mother that does the work? The mother does this work. The doctor doesn't put the child, take the child, nothing. He just simply guides and coaches you, right? Now it's up to you whether you want to follow it or not. But normally, you do follow the doctor's instructions, and when you do, a successful result comes. Similarly, when the 7th child comes, that is the appearance of Baladeva Prabhu, then that manifests this wonderful bliss in Devakī's heart. So when she's cleansed of the fear of Kans, her 6 sons are gone now, then she becomes clear that, this is coming due to my fate, no issue at all. We just talked about suffering. She becomes mature in her suffering, and she does not look at the loss of her children as any suffering anymore. When that happens, Guru comes in the heart, that is Balaram comes into the womb of Devakī, then Krishna is getting ready to come, and Balaram or the Guru manifests Krishna Prem within the heart of the devotee. Does everybody understand this? Alright, so when the Guru comes, then he also makes a very unusual appearance, or he does it in an unusual way. So, Ajay Prabhu, you want to recite the shloka? Are you able to recite shlokas?
I'll try, just read it.
Okay.
Devakya jatare garbham
Devakya jatare garbham
Sheshakyam dhama mamakam
Sheshakyam dhamma mamakam
Tatsani krishya rohinya
Tatsani krishya rohinya
Udare saniveshya.
Udare saniveshya. Can you read the translation?
Within the womb of Devaki is my partial plenary expansion known as Sankarshan or Shesha. Without difficulty, transfer him into the womb of Rohini.
So Krishna, if you remember, he's speaking to Yogamaya, and he's telling Yogamaya Devi to do this and do that and arrange all of these things before my arrival. So he informs Yogamaya that my expansion, that is Balaram, has already taken into the womb of Devaki, and I want that you transfer him as the embryo from Devaki to Rohini Maya. That is, Rohini Maya is in Vrindavan. So, there is Devaki, and Ritu Didi, where is Devaki? In what location? Mathura. She is the wife of? Is your name Ritu Didi? I keep hearing the male voice. Devaki and Vasudev, they're residing in Mathura. And where is Rohini Maya? There is Rohini Maya. Do you know where she is? Okay, she's in Vrindavan. Do you know who Rohini Maya is? Another wife of Vasudev. So Vasudev is a king, remember. He's a king. So he has many wives. In fact, it's described that other wives are also present in Vrindavan. He sent Rohini Maya to Vrindavan. Does anybody know why? To protect her from Kanas. Because he sees a crazy person willing to do anything, so he then sends his other wives away in the shelter of who's in Vrindavan? Who else is in Vrindavan? Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba. So Yashoda Maya and Nanda Baba is there. Everybody understand this so far?
How are they related?
How are they related? Oh, that's lengthy. Let's go to the... I have like a clock on my head for the next 15 seconds.
Half-brothers.
Half-brothers, yeah. Because for Janya Maharaj, their cousins, there were two brothers there. Vasudeva came from one lineage, and Nanda Baba came from the Gop lineage. So, like that. Anyway. Alright, so Vasudeva sends Rohini to Vrindavan. Krishna then tells Yogamaya that the seventh child in Devaki's womb, you transfer it to Rohini. And therefore Rohini becomes the mother of Balaram also. So in this way, Balaram actually takes birth in Vrindavan. He doesn't take birth in Mathura. Because anyone who is the original Shyam Krishna is a Brajavasi. So in any case, along with him, Balaram also appears in Vrindavan. So when Balaram appears into the womb of Devaki first, then we have mentioned this before, that one of the beautiful commentators, Acharyas, his name was Sri Harisuri. He described that why did Balaram come first into the womb? So we have mentioned here before that of course Guru comes before Krishna, but also when preparing for the arrival of someone wonderful, someone great, someone like a Mahapurush like Sri Krishna, then the servant comes and cleans the room, or someone who comes and purifies the room. So Devaki Maya has had 6 of her children killed. They represent the bad things. Now the Guru or Balaram comes in the womb, purifies the womb, allows it to be clean, and then Krishna enters the womb of Devaki, or actually the mind of Devaki. Now here I put the translation of the verses so that we can quickly go through them. Ajay Prabhu, can you read the translation?
O all auspicious Yogamaya, I shall then appear with my full 6 opulences as the son of Devaki, and you will appear as the daughter of Mother Yashoda, the queen of Maharaj Nanda. By sacrifices of animals, ordinary human beings will worship you gorgeously with various paraphernalia, because you are supreme in fulfilling the material desires of everyone. Lord Krishna blessed Maya Devi by saying, in different places on the surface of the earth, people will give you different names such as Durga, Bhadrakali, Vijaya, Vaishnavi, Kumuda, Chandika, Krishna, Madhavi, Krishna, Madhavi, Kanyaka, Maya, Narayani, Ishani, Sharada, and Ambika.
Alright, so you all know these names, many of these names, certainly Durga, Bhadrakali, Ambika, very famous names. That is representing Maya Devi. We've already done the class on Maya Devi. So Krishna is telling that, oh, you also take birth. My expansion has already taken birth. You also come, and when you come in this world, everyone will glorify you through animal sacrifice and various paraphernalia. We have seen so many people perform animal sacrifices for Durga Devi or Bhadrakali, etc. And they will try, and what will she do? She will fulfill your material desires. And we've already talked about how she takes the aspect of Mahamaya, which is the one that deludes everyone. Alright, next.
Thus instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yogamaya immediately agreed with the Vedic
mantra Om.
She confirmed that she would do what he asked. Thus, having accepted the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she circumambulated him and started for the place on earth known as Nanda Gokul. There she did everything just as she had been told.
Alright, so this is the activities of Yogamaya Devi, and that's a very brief summary of there. There's many other details, but let's move on quickly. Can you just read the translation again for this one?
Thereafter, accompanied by plenary expansions, the fully opulent Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is all auspicious for the entire universe, was transferred from the mind of Vasudev to the mind of Devakī. Devakī, having thus been initiated by Vasudev, became beautiful by carrying Lord Krishna, the original consciousness for everyone, the cause of all causes, within the core of her heart, just as the east becomes beautiful by carrying the rising moon.
Alright, so this is a very, very beautiful verse. I hope we can touch on some of the important parts of it. Here is being described that once Balaram comes into the womb of Devakī, he gets transferred to the womb of Rohini. Now that the womb is purified, then Krishna is ready to enter. But Ajay Prabhu, how does Krishna come into the womb of Devakī, or the heart of Devakī, or the mind of Devakī? What is the Bhagavatam telling us?
Through the mind?
Through the mind of whom?
Vasudev, to the mind of Devakī.
So, first, Krishna was there present in the mind of Vasudev. And from the mind of Vasudev, he transferred Krishna to the mind of Devakī. And then what is the second part? Highlighted or underlined?
Devakī being initiated by Vasudev.
Alright. So in this case, we have heard previously how Lord Brahma, when he wanted to have darshan of the Lord, or he's praying to the Lord, did he appear in front of him, or he first came in his mind? Similarly, in the minds of the pure devotees, Krishna is always present. When a guru, who is a pure devotee of the Lord, Krishna is always present in the mind of the guru. And when one takes diksha, or initiation, then what does the guru do? He transfers from his mind to the mind of the disciple. Here it's described that Devakī becomes like the disciple of Vasudeva. So first Krishna came in the mind or heart of Vasudeva because he's a pure devotee. And because of his pure devotion, he then was able to give Krishna to Devakī. So many people say, I think it was mentioned last time, oh, well, they were in a jail cell, how is this possible, etc., etc. No, that's because the Lord does not appear in this way. The Lord appears first in the mind of the devotee. So when he appears in the mind, Devakī becomes initiated. So this is the process of parampara also. When the Guru gives Diksha Kale Bhakta Kare Atma Samarpan, Sei Krishna Kare, Sei Krishna Karatare Kare Atma Sam. That is, Diksha Kala Bhakta Kare. When a devotee takes Diksha or initiation from a bona fide Guru, what does he do? Atma Samarpan. he surrenders his entire self to the Guru. When he surrenders his entire self to the Guru, then what does the Guru do? He makes him equivalent to Krishna. That is, he brings Krishna within the heart of that person, and therefore they become godlike, they become divine themselves also. So in this way, Devakī also receives Krishna within the mind. So we're going to see a contradiction here in just a few verses. But let's get through this translation first, and then I'll bring that back up.
Devakī then kept within herself the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the cause of all causes, the foundation of the entire cosmos. But because she was under arrest in the house of Kamsa, she was like the flames of a fire covered by the walls of a pot, or like a person who has knowledge but cannot distribute it to the world for the benefit of human society.
All right, so our acharyas describe this in great detail, but let's keep moving on, because I really want to touch on one of the verses in particular.
Because the Supreme Personality of Godhead was within her womb, Devakī illuminated the entire atmosphere in the place where she was confined. Seeing her jubilant, pure and smiling, Kamsa thought, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, who is now within her, will kill me. Devakī has never before looked so brilliant and jubilant.
All right, so when Kans sees the brilliance of Devakī, because now Krishna is present within her heart and mind, then he knows that this person has become divine. So what happens to Kans? As soon as this happens, Kans begins to immediately become very fearful. Because now he knows, oh gosh, I've killed 6 sons. The 7th son was a miscarriage apparently and went to Rohini Lingam. And now the 8th son is here. And all this time he's been thinking, oh my God, my death is going to happen from the 8th son. My death is going to happen from the 8th son. So Prabhu, if you knew that your death was coming from the 8th son, and you know that the 8th son looks like it's about to appear, what are you going to think about the whole time? How to escape, okay, but you'll also be thinking about that 8th son over and over and over again. Because he's so fearful of losing his life, then he's thinking about the 8th son, but he's doing it with a mood of fear. So our acharyas then describe very beautifully that even though Kans was a demon, but because he was meditating constantly on Krishna, even though he was meditating constantly on him in a form of fear and form of like revenge, vengeance, but because of that meditation, then it ultimately results in his benefit. So our acharyas describe that no matter what, even if someone who has a negative mindset towards the Lord, but somehow becomes absorbed in the Lord, ultimately the Lord is so merciful that it results in his benefit. Similarly, the case with Ravana, who was always meditating on Lord Ram, even during the war and prior to that. So, in this way, some people approach the Lord in a negative mindset, but because the Lord is extremely merciful, then he bestows his mercy even onto those who are inimical to him. So in this way, that is that. Now the verse I wanted to highlight is a very interesting verse, and I only have maybe 5-7 minutes left, so we'll try to get through as much as possible. When Devakī becomes jubilant, when she becomes very brilliant, then all the Devatas also become aware that Krishna is going to appear from her. And they have been waiting for a very long time. They have been waiting for a very long time, because if you remember, why did the Devatas start this process in the first place? Because they were
instructed.
I know we're sleepy. I'll wrap up very quickly. Because they were
Instructed by Vishnu to go down.
But why did they go to Vishnu in the first place?
Because there was too much havoc on earth.
Too much havoc on earth, and because they were also losing their own opulence and kingdoms. Right? Indradev, etc. Kans was defeating them. So when they approached the Lord, he said, I will come. Don't worry, I know what's happening. Then when they heard that he's going to be the 8th son, they're eager and eager and eager. When they know the Lord is about to appear, they come to the jail of Devakī and they begin offering prayers to the Lord. Now these prayers are known as, this is chapter 2, these prayers are known as Garbha Stuti. Does anybody know what that means? Garbha, womb, and Stuti, prayers. Prayers to the womb. Okay? Praise to the womb of Devakī. Now, I'm just going to repeat some of the commentary of a previous Acharya, again, Sri Harisuri, and I hope that you all will find this relishable. In the entire Bhagavatam, the womb is always criticized. This is the only place in the entire Bhagavatam where the womb is glorified. That's why this chapter is known as Garbha Stuti. Now, in previous chapters, whenever the womb was being discussed, it was criticized by everybody. Because why? Is taking birth in a womb an auspicious thing? No. Kailash Prabhu?
Yes, because then only you come, right?
Huh?
Yes, then only you come.
Then only will you come. So would you like to take birth from a womb over and over and over again?
Well, not now.
Not now. But maybe, maybe before I was okay with it. I love it. In any case, the Garbha, or the Haripriya, is looking at me like, when she looks at me like this, she's like, oh God, what is he going to say next? Anyhow, when it's always interesting to have your own wife in your own class. Anyway, the Garbha is criticized by all the previous chapters in the Bhagavatam because they're trying to encourage us not to take birth again. But here, the Garbha is glorified. Why is that the case? It's described. Because anytime anything, even a negative thing, comes into contact with Bhagavan, then it automatically becomes glorious. So when the Devatas began offering prayers to Mother Devakī, they referred to her in a very interesting way. And let's just recite the Sanskrit just for the sake of it, and then we'll break it down. And this is a very funny analysis by Sri Harisuri. Can you recite the verse?
Dishtyambate kukshigata para puman.
Let everybody repeat it.
Amshena sakshat bhagwan bhavayana.
Amshena sakshat bhagwan bhavayana.
Mabhut bhayam bhojapate mumursho.
Mabhut bhayam bhojapate mumursho.
Gopta yadu nam bhavita tavat majaha.
Gopta yadu nam bhavita tavat majaha. So here, the first word is Disht Amba. Does anybody know Amba? What Amba means? What do we say to Durga Devi? Amba Devi. Does anybody know why we use that word Amba? Mother. It means mother. Okay? So she's the divine mother. So Amba. So here it says, "Oh Mother Devakī." These are the Devatas praying to Mother Devakī. Ajay Prabhu, just read the translation, the first, the rest of the entire translation.
O Mother Devakī, by your good fortune and ours, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, with all His plenary portions such as Baladeva, is now within your womb. Therefore you need not fear Kamsa, who has decided to be killed by the Lord. Your eternal son, Krishna, will be the protector of the entire Yadu dynasty.
Alright, so here, they refer to her as Amba. They refer to her as a mother. Now, they also said the Supreme Lord, who is all of His plenary portions, such as Baladeva, and even ourselves, are within that Supreme Lord. After all, if you remember that pastime of Krishna opening his mouth, then what do they see? What does Mother Yashoda see? She sees the entire universe, everybody, including herself. Similarly, when Krishna displays his universal form to Arjuna, then he shows that everybody is there, even Arjuna. So the Devatas are praying to Mother Devakī as Amba. But here the hidden commentary is that they're not calling her mother. They're calling her Dadi, grandmother. Because why? Because they say, hey, the Supreme Father, the Supreme Lord, is in your womb. And we are the sons of that Supreme Father. So what does that make you? That makes you Dadi. That makes you Dadi. Now, who is a Dadi? Nobody's a Dadi here. Well, we need to have a Dadi at some point. But in any case, for those of you who know a Dadi, all right, is your Dadi nicer to you, or is your mother nicer to you? Huh? Your Dadi. So when the Devatas approach Devakī, then they say, "Oh Dadi, Because what will happen? Devaki will start showing affection to them. She will behave not like a mother. A mother will say, wake up at 3 a.m. The daddy will come and say, Arey mummy to bolti rehti hai. Hai na? Right? That's what a daddy does. So similarly, the Devtas approach Mother Devaki as a dadi. Now, when someone approaches dadi, I'm thinking about my daughter going to dadi. What do they want? Something that their mother wouldn't give. Yeah? Because they know dadi would give it. So similarly, Dadi Devaki, they're asking, oh, Dadi Devaki, quickly give us your son. Because your son will save us. And why will he save us? Because we were about to lose our kingdom. So whenever the Devtas come, we have seen this time and time again, they are self-interested. They are looking for their own benefit. And they're very, very clever also. So they approach Devaki Maya as Dadi. Now, they also, here is described that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we have touched upon this. That when in Mathura, when the Lord appears as the son of Devaki, not takes birth from her. Remember, the Lord appears in front of Devaki in his four-armed form. And I asked Narendra Prabhu, when you had your son or daughter, did they appear with 4 hands? No. So when the Lord appears in front of Devaki, he does not take birth from her womb. But here it says, the Devatas are saying, by your good fortune and ours, the Supreme Personality of God himself, with all his splendor, such as what is within your womb. But previously we just heard that Krishna came to Devaki through Vasudev's mind. And it entered her mind. It never entered her womb. But because the Devtas want her to have this feeling of motherly affection, then they say, oh, the Lord, he's appeared in your womb. Because when a mother has their child in the womb, then immediately, I can speak of my own wife, then immediately they develop a motherly feeling. Imagine for those of you who are parents, the first time you had a child, prior to having the child or prior to knowing you were pregnant, and then as soon as you found out you were pregnant, then a feeling of motherly affection came within your heart. Is that right? Mothers? Yes? Okay. So in that case, they are approaching Mother Devaki and glorifying her that way. Again, दादी के पास जाना है ना, तो कुछ अच्छा बोलना है ना दादी को. दादी, आप कितने अच्छे हो. Right? So similarly, like this. And then, because they knew that Devaki was fearful of Kans, then they reassured her, saying, hey, you don't need to fear Kans. And then she responds to the Devtas, our Acharya's comment on this, that she responds to the Devtas, but he hasn't appeared yet. What if something bad happens between now and the time that Kans could come and kill me now? Who knows about Kans? And the Devta said, no. He's not going to take long. He's going to appear now. And she says, it's already so late. What's happening? They said, Nini, 12 baje aa jayenge. Don't worry, he's coming at midnight. So they're reassuring her that there is no need to fear. Between now and midnight, you should remain very happy and peaceful, because when the Lord takes presence from the womb of bhakti, then all fear goes completely away. So the Devtas are reassuring her this. Then finally, they say, oh, this Krishna, the eternal Lord, or your eternal son Krishna, he will be the protector of the entire Yadu dynasty. Now, in the Yadu dynasty, that is the family of those who are in Krishna in Mathura, they were known as the Yadus. So in the Yadavas, yes. So in the Yadus, who also comes? The Devtas are talking to Mother Devaki and saying, you have no fear. The Lord is coming and he's the protector of the Yadu dynasty. Who is also part of the Yadu dynasty? Huh?
Parikshit Maharaj.
No. Devaki herself is also part of the Yadu dynasty too. And Vasudeva is also there. So when they hear this, they become very, very reassured. So if we reinterpret this shlok, it is, oh Dadi, You are so glorious. The Lord himself has appeared within your womb. And because of that, you have nothing to fear. And therefore you should become joyous, because when the Lord arrives, there is nothing else to fear. And oh yeah, Gandhi, in case you think something's going to happen, he's about to appear very, very soon. In fact, right at midnight. And when he appears, he will protect the entire family. That includes us, because we have appeared in the Yadu dynasty, and that includes you also. So in this way, the Devtas then pray to Mother Devakī. Mother Devakī becomes very pleased with them. She blesses them, and then they depart, and then the appearance of the Lord happens. That we will discuss next week. Gaur Premanande, Vanchakalpatarubhischa, Kripasindhu Vihirscha, Patitanam Bhavanyo, Vaishnavyo Namo. Probably next class we will go to Vrindavan, and then